has a clear impact on environmental laws, on the court decisions, and on environmental performance. That's another good reason. And you know, when you, as I alluded to earlier, when you look at Canada's environmental ranking, we really are at the bottom of the pack amongst industrialized nations. And really, you don't have to take my word for it. You can take Stephen Harper's word for it. This is our wildlife-loving Prime Minister, and 4.5 years ago, in a year-end interview with CTV, Stephen Harper said, and this is a direct quote, "By most any measure, Canada's environmental record is among the worst in the industrialized world." Well, we talk about what you should do about that later, but certainly rolling back environmental laws and policies is not the answer. So Canada's weak environmental performance is actually, you know, it's embarrassing. We can kind of joke about it, but it has life and death consequences. The World Health Organization estimates that approximately 30,000 deaths in Canada each year are attributable in whole or in part to environmental causation. And that's a shocking number, 30,000 premature deaths. It's consistent, though, with studies that have been done by the Canadian Medical Association, which estimates that in the neighborhood of 20,000 premature deaths are attributable to air pollution alone. And we also have a profoundly disturbing situation in Canada where we have thousands of people living on reserves in Aboriginal communities who don't only lack access to safe drinking water, they literally don't have running water in their homes. They have to take buckets down to lakes and carry water back to their homes. They have to use outhouses in the winter in Manitoba in 40 below weather. I mean, these are just conditions that cannot be tolerated in a country like Canada. And this problem we have with Canada's Constitution is not something that's just recently flared up. This is a picture of Prime Minister Wilfrid Laurier back in, who in 1910 appointed a commission on conservation. And one of the commission's first reports was on this new problem of water pollution. And the Commission on Conservation in the report said that one of the problems that was impeding Canada's ability to deal with water pollution was uncertainty about which level of government was responsible for protecting the environment. And that's a problem that has persisted right through to this day. In fact, there was a court decision of the Supreme Court of Canada in the late 1990s in a prosecution of Hydro-Quebec for dumping PCBs into a Quebec river, in which we came within a hair's breadth of losing the core of Canada's most important environmental law because of this problem of constitutional uncertainty. It was a 5-4 Supreme Court of Canada decision in favor of upholding the law. If one more judge had gone the other way, we would have lost the heart of the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. And as I mentioned earlier, environmental rights and responsibilities are a fundamental cornerstone of Indigenous legal systems. This is a book by Professor John Borrows, one of the most brilliant legal scholars in Canada, and he talks clearly about how this is a part of Indigenous constitutional law. And in Canada, we have 3 basic sources of law. We have the English common law, the French civil law, and then we have Indigenous law. And we've done a very good job of integrating common law and civil law into our contemporary legal system. And we've done a very poor job of integrating Indigenous law. So putting environmental rights and responsibilities into our Constitution today would be a means of bringing Indigenous law back into our legal system. And the last reason why Canada should amend its Constitution to recognize the right to a healthy environment is that opinion polls show that 90% of Canadians support recognition of the right to a healthy environment. And in fact, and this is kind of disturbing, over half of Canadians believe that the right to a healthy environment is already in the Charter of Rights, which is certainly not the case. Now I have to make a brief foray into history here. This is a picture